My name is David Femia. Been a Muslim now for 16 years, quite some time. I work in an accounting industry. For me, it actually started when I met my now wife, quite some time ago. I didn't know anything about Islam at that time. She introduced me to her father, and he's the most pious man I knew. Unfortunately, he's since passed on, but he taught me a lot from his experiences and the way that he dealt with life and the way that he sort of saw things. It sort of opened up a lot for me, and that sort of encouraged me to learn a lot more and to lead me down this path. Prior to that, it was there was small interactions with other Muslims, not too many, but he was the most significant sort of path for me to come down this way. It wasn't too long after the September 11 attacks. A lot of people bring that up, but for me, it was a no-brainer for me. It was I fell in love with the religion at that time, and things that we saw happening around us, just 2 plus 2 just did not add up for me. So when I learned more about the religion, what it was all about, and how it affected me in my life and the others around me, it was definitely the right way for me to go. It wasn't a great deal of time really, because after this, I was ready for Islam, so to speak. It was with my path growing up in Australia. Came here when I was 5 years old, from originally born in Italy. There was just a lot of questions in my life prior to that. I was looking for something, the right something, and then when I came across this, it was something that there was no question in my mind that was the right thing for me. It was what I was actually looking for at the time. I decided to take the Shahada the first time I walked into a masjid or a mosque. It was at Revert. It was an interesting situation because I've never been inside a mosque before, and first thing I did was took my shoes off. Didn't quite understand that concept, but then I looked around. There was no chairs, and I was like, where does everyone sit? My father-in-law pulled up a chair for me, and I sat at the back, and it was a congregation coming for Maghrib prayers, the first evening prayer, and. Yeah, it was just a very moving and touching event for me, just to see the brothers sort of praying in unison and together and with purpose. While I was sitting on that chair, just something happened to me, and I just can't sort of explain it, but it was quite overwhelming. But and that was the big indicator for me that this was the thing that I've been looking for quite some time. So from there on in, we took the Shahada, alhamdulillah. And after that, I just felt like I was floating on air for probably the next couple of weeks, and my life began to change from then. That's a time when it was a new beginning for me, and prior to that, all the nonsense and all the bad stuff, that what I consider to be bad form, that was just all gone, and that's when my life started. Yes, thinking back now, was a few challenges there. There's no doubt about that. Sort of still being among a Christian or sort of a Catholic family. My in-laws, not my in-laws, sorry, my immediate family. But yeah, look, there was definitely some hard times there with family members not accepting things. Even still today, there's some issues there, but you can sort of cross those boundaries, and we've overcome quite a lot. The biggest time we actually crossed the boundaries was when our families, my wife's family and my family, sort of met, and from there, I consider there's like a lot of likeness between the two cultures, and I haven't changed. We've actually just gotten better. So that's actually allowed us to overcome a lot of things. Looking back now, it's my sister, my elder sister is Muslim. Myself, my younger sister she's quite a devout, born again Christian, and my youngest brother is still a little bit undecided. He's a Christian, but it's only a matter of time before he finds it. I think he accepts Islam because he's asking all the right questions, and when inshallah will guide him in the right way. But so I've tried to turn things that could have been negative into a positive, and shown there's a lot of similarities between the different cultures and different religions, and we sort of focus more on what's the same as opposed to what's different, and then that's actually allowed us to cross a lot of bridges and get across the line. Islam is for me it's a more complete religion for me. So praying 5 times a day and going to the mosque every Friday, it's something that sort of it's become something that I've actually needed rather than actually wanted. Previously, it was more a matter of going to church. You start off weekly, then went to monthly, and then turned into births and deaths and marriages and Christmas and those type of things. So a lot of people have this attitude that the church was in your heart, but I just didn't quite understand that. But growing up in that sort of environment, I never quite understood the concept of praying to anyone other than God. whilst we're in church, people were referring to Jesus, but I didn't understand why we'd be praying to the second man, so to speak. So even back then as a child, I was praying to God and wanting to have that direct connection to God, and the difference really now is that we have that direct connection to Him. Sometimes I bring up an analogy and basically say that prior to this, I was actually dialing just the wrong number and kept getting engaged tone or busy tone, but now I just get a direct line directly to God, and I find that's the main thing. So there's a lot of similarities between the different religions, but now it's just more complete. It's something that I crave. It's something that I want. It's something that I need. It's something that it's like a light that I'm constantly striving to move towards, because it's just without it, life is just not enjoyable in any way. And with it, I just have a lot more peace, a lot more tranquility, a lot more sense of and purpose in life. Prior to accepting this, my life was, maybe they can relate to this, it was a little bit like fumbling around in a dark room. If you were to turn off the lights in this room, you may find your way around things, but you'll hit your knee on a table and hit against the wall or whatever it may be. But that's what life was like for me. And to give an example, sometimes, if there was a car park full of cars and only one car was to get broken into, chances that was going to be my car. That's how life was for me before then. Things didn't make sense. A lot of people were trying to come up with cliches to try and work out life and what the meaning of life was about and where they should go and what they should do and who they are and what their purpose is, and none of that was there. So when I did decide to accept Islam, I didn't. It was a little bit like, with the room analogy, it was a little bit like having a dimmer switch and the light slowly turning on, and became brighter and brighter and brighter as I got closer and closer to God. And that's, funnily enough, there is a verse in the Quran about that, and I'm sure other converts have sort of mentioned and had the same experience. But that's what life is like. It's moving towards the light and made things much, much easier for me from there. Things just made sense. So if they have any doubt, don't worry too much about comparative, about who is this, who is that, and what is that. Just feel, basically. When I first learned about Islam, I didn't dive directly into learning how to read the Quran and things like that. I was actually more from the spiritual side and what Islam was about, what it really is about. One thing that my late father-in-law did tell me, which didn't make sense to me at the time, was that, and this was slightly after I became a Muslim, he said there's a difference between Islam and Muslims, and I'm thinking, I couldn't quite understand what that meant. So in hindsight, what he was basically saying is that Islam is Islam, it's the perfect religion, it tells us what to do, but sometimes the followers don't always do as they're supposed to do. So I began to focus more on the book and what it's all about, and the religion and the peace and everything that comes from it, and that's what I fell in love with, as opposed to just following others. If there's anyone out there who is considering it, I wouldn't even think about, just stop considering. Take the what they call the testament of faith, the Shahada. It's an intention, so, and from there, inshallah, God willing, you'll actually move on and become closer to God, and those things that you're missing beforehand will be there. One thing I did notice quite some time ago was people do get caught up in this world and the things and the bells and whistles of this life, and I think that's all there is to life. And I felt it was like a bit of a freeway sometimes, where I was trying to move towards the light and something better, but some people were sort of fighting to move the opposite way, and I couldn't quite understand that. For those that are born Muslims, you've been given a gift, and this is what I tell my kids, that you've been given a gift that nobody else has, and you can't put a value on that gift. You can't replace it. It's something that's there, and it's a little bit of a shame when people sort of don't take advantage of it, because often, if I was to put a pot of gold right here in front of you, and I was to say to you, take all the gold you want, and whenever you take the gold, it's going to be replenished, then chances are they're going to take it, right? But Allah's given us the same thing, but it's in different formats, in different ways, but people, for some reason, don't want to take that, and offer just for a little bit of effort. I don't quite understand why they wouldn't do that, but that's my encouragement would be to dive in, and the blessings are there, and it's not hard. Just to give someone a simple smile on the street is a form of charity, which comes with a lot of blessings, and it changes that person's days. Islam wasn't meant to be difficult, but for those that are born Muslims, please don't miss out. There's so much there for you. I wish it was there for me earlier. Please don't take it for granted. Being a youth, it's tough. It's challenging. There's so much that's going on in your head. There's so much you're learning about. You're learning about yourself. You're learning about your peers. You're learning about the opposite sex. You're learning about where you want to be in life and who you are and what you want to do and where you want to go. But the ultimate guidance is right there in front of you. The guidance is there, and it can be a very, very confusing time growing up, especially being Muslim in a non-Muslim sort of country. We see maybe our friends are doing things that you may want to do, which may go against what our teachings, but they'll say it's fantastic, but at the end of the day, they don't have what our youth have, and they don't have that guidance. For the youth, I would say, don't wait until you're old to learn about Islam. Be my best advice here. Don't wait until it's too late, dive in now. This is the time they actually need the guidance the most. Use it. Without a doubt, it made me a better person. It taught me about patience. It taught me about just not getting angry at things unnecessarily. It taught me more about the meaning of life, really, from there. So one thing I should have mentioned a little bit earlier is that one challenge is that a lot of converts may have in becoming a Muslim initially was that growing up in a Western society, we're often told that we can be whoever we want to be and we can do whatever we want to do. So we want to become the president or the prime minister, or if we want to be the next astronaut to go to space, we can be. And one of the difficulties that a lot of people may face is the difference in mindset, whereas we're thinking that everything's up to us and where we are in life and we choose our own destiny is up to us, as opposed to leaving everything up to Allah, leaving everything to God. Where things maybe feel maybe as a better person is not being so anxious and concerned about things and where I am in life and where I want to be and what I want to do, because and just leaving everything to God and basically just going along the path that He's sort of created for us and doing the best that I can do. So now I see opportunities, if I can, to do good, I will. And it could be small things, just moving obstacles out of people's paths or making life easier for people, just keep mentioning kind words. Now that I know that everything else is taken care of, you can sort of focus more on doing other things that's going to be of benefit to others and not just myself. Overall, it's without a doubt, it's made me a better person, and it's allowed me to hopefully teach my kids to be better people as a result, and then we go from there. I don't know if I like everything, so there isn't really one thing that sort of stands out, but one thing that was the most challenging for me was no doubt was the fasting aspect during Ramadan. So it was difficult because I didn't understand it. But come the next year and the following years, it became easier for me. So it was all about mindset. The enjoyment of fasting the full day and fasting for the full month, and then breaking fast with your family, and then having prayers at nights with your brothers, can't sort of replace that feeling. So that's my favourite part overall. That achievement, but also unity with everybody. That's really what's important to me. And I've got to admit, there's nothing more powerful to me. It's quite amazing, really, seeing in a line that we pray and seeing your brothers out of the corner of your eye pray at the same time in unison. And seeing that at Hajj, alhamdulillah, things like that, it's just the most amazing things you'll ever see. If any of you do get the chance to visit Mecca or Medina, you'll understand what I mean, that there's something very, very special about that. So whilst there's nothing overly favourite, but these are the things that do stand out in my life, and I would encourage anyone to sort of, to make the most out of Ramadan, make the most out of Hajj or Umrah whenever they can.